the Russians, it looks like to me, did interfere in our elections. We'll never be able to decide whether they changed the outcome. But I tell you, having worked in the CIA, if we had been caught interfering in European elections or Asian elections or anywhere in the world, those countries would call for new elections, and any democracy would. And I don't see it any other way. I mean, the Electoral College before the 19th has got to know whether the Russians had an effect, whether they went to WikiLeaks, whether they hacked email, and whether they affected American opinion. And they had a good reason not to go after Hillary Clinton. Putin hates her for the Ukraine.
So, Bob, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying we should have another election? How would that work? Is that plausible?
When a foreign country interferes in your election and the outcome is in doubt and legitimacy of the government, I don't know how it works constitutionally. I'm not a lawyer, constitutional lawyer, but I'm deeply disturbed by the fact that the Russians interfered. And I would like to see the evidence, because if the evidence is there, I don't see any other way than to vote again. I mean, as an American citizen.
Now, to the relationship between the intelligence agencies and Trump, obviously from Trump, this wasn't just an off-the-cuff remark at a rally. This was a thought-out, tweeted-out statement questioning the reputation of the CIA. How do you think Mike Pompeo, the brand new head of the CIA, is going to handle this, Bob?
Well, I frankly can't trust him because he's a political appointee. He's coming out of Congress. He has an agenda as well. What we need to do is see the forensics on this, and we need to see it fast. And I want to see the detail. The CIA at this point can't say we have to protect sources and methods. The outcome is too important. Sometimes you have to sacrifice sources, and I think now's the time.
So I spent a bit of time reading your tweets. You, sir, are angry. Tell me why.
I went on my tweet storm this weekend, Brooke, because I'm outraged at the lack of outrage, especially on my side, the Republican side. I get that the country's divided, but my God, a foreign government interfered with our election. That should piss everybody off. That should especially anger my side. And it's like, Brooke, because our guy won, Trump won, we're going to keep our mouths shut. I mean, that's just so wrong. The tepid response from Republicans.
So just so I'm clear, you believe the CIA assessment that yes, indeed, Russia's intent was to meddle to get Trump to win?
Oh my gosh, Brooke, there's no debate. It happened. I mean, again, not to parrot Hillary, 17 agencies said they interfered. This Washington Post report this weekend made clear it's a fact. And then for Donald Trump, I mean, everybody, look, all Republicans and Democrats in D.C. know that they interfered with this election. For Donald Trump to call it ridiculous and not believe it, he ought to be ashamed of himself.
So I know that you agree. I saw, one of your tweets that you had retweeted the former CIA acting director, Mike Morrell, who essentially compared this to being the political 9/11. But at the same time, you're a Trump supporter. And this is the guy you voted for. This is the guy you supported. And he is reluctant to even investigate. Why do you think that is?
Because I think he's acting like a third grader, Brooke. I think he believes
a third grader.
This is going to... Maybe a fourth grader. I don't know. My kids are older. Maybe he thinks
this is the man you voted to be the president.
Yes, but I don't think he fully gets it, Brooke. This is I mean, my God, we're Americans. This is a foreign government got involved in our election. I mean, I agree with Michael Morrell. That's like Russia attacked us. And for Donald Trump to come out and attack our men and women in the CIA, that's almost treasonous. Russia attacks us, and Trump attacks the CIA. Man, he ought to be the one, Brooke, calling for an investigation like right now.
Donald Trump is ramping up a showdown over the alleged role. Tonight, Donald Trump is ramping up a showdown over the alleged role Russia may have played in the race for president, with every major U.S. intelligence agency concluding that Russia did, in fact, interfere with the election.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just another excuse. I don't believe it.
On Sunday, Trump flatly told Fox News that he does not believe the reports that the CIA believes Russia actively attempted to intervene. This morning, he doubled down in a series of tweets, writing, quote, "Can you imagine if the election results were the opposite and we tried to play the Russia CIA card? it would be called conspiracy theory. Trump also claiming that the accusations of Russian interference never came up during the election, which it did, and that hackers weren't caught in the act, which they were. This comes as a chorus of bipartisan senators are calling for a deeper probe.
It's clear the Russians interfered.
And Trump is incorrectly suggesting it is Democrats, not the intelligence community, placing the blame on Russia.
I'm not sure they put it out. I think the Democrats are putting it out because they suffered one of the greatest defeats in the history of politics in this country. And frankly, I think they're putting it out, and it's ridiculous.
Which entirely misses the problem of a foreign entity attempting to undermine the integrity of the U.S. election. It makes any potential investigation challenging if Trump remains opposed to the effort once he takes office. But the Senate's most powerful Republican is also pushing back, arguing that the intelligence is correct and an investigation is needed.
I agree with Senator Schumer, Chairman McCain, Burr, and others. This simply cannot be a partisan issue. The Russians are not our friends.
And now the Clinton campaign is backing a demand from Electoral College electors who are asking for a full intelligence briefing on the matter ahead of their official vote on December 19th. This flap adds to growing concern amongst leaders of the president-elect's own party about his view of Russia.
I am an American company.
And his likely pick for Secretary of State, ExxonMobil CEO Rex Tillerson, and his close ties to Putin and Russia.
Follow the funds.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, tweeting, "Being a friend of Vladimir is not an attribute I'm hoping for from a Secretary of State." These battles are being waged as Trump continues to shape his upcoming administration. Making trips to Trump Tower today.
Really cool stuff in his office.
Former presidential candidate Carly Fiorina, former Congressman Alan West, and former Texas Governor Rick Perry, once a sharp critic of Trump, now considered as the next energy secretary, a department that as a presidential candidate, he suggested be shut down.
I thought it was important to put the FBI on notice, do something about it. I wrote in August, and the FBI director didn't have the decency, the courtesy to even respond to my letter. So I got something from somebody in the Government Affairs Department, somebody that probably doesn't know his way down to the Capitol, who sent me a letter saying, yeah, we're looking into it. They looked into nothing.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's obvious he was a partisan in all this.
Comey?
Yeah, part of Comey, yes. It's obvious. There's information out there. He had it, I'm confident, and he ignored it. And we know from other reports we've seen from all you guys, there were reports in the people in the campaign for Donald Trump were in touch with the Russians. And now it's very clear. One of the biggest mysteries that people think exists, why didn't he do something? No, there's no mystery to me, but they were all over, all over. The DNC was hacked, everybody knew that. We knew WikiLeaks was coming out, drip by drip by drip. They wouldn't do it all at once, of course, because they were coordinating this, obviously, with the Trump folks and the Russians.
So, I mean, just to be clear, are you saying that the Russian government was, in fact, trying to steer this election to Donald Trump?
My opinion is yes, and we got no basis in fact from the FBI. They ignored it. Now we're hearing, and you guys are reporting all this stuff from the intelligence agencies. They clearly see it.
Officer, what we're seeing is a transition. This is really depressing for an intelligence officer. What we're seeing is a transition from campaign rhetoric into the Oval Office. On the campaign trail, you can create facts. Is the president a native-born American? The president had to have the humility to come out and say yes, and the president-elect eventually backed down. When the president-elect, Mr. Trump, didn't like the facts from the Department of Justice and the FBI Director Comey saying he would not pursue the email investigation into Hillary Clinton, attack the messenger. Now we're getting the same thing when we have a transition from the campaign trail. If I don't like the facts, if I want to cozy up to Russia, let me attack the messenger. One more thing, Michael. This is not just the President of the United States. This is the leader of one of the three arms of government, the executive branch. He is now, before taking office, told two elements of that executive branch, the FBI and the CIA, that he doesn't trust them. This is unbelievable.
Right. So what impact is this going to have on his relationship moving forward with that intel community on which he must rely?
I think there's two elements here behind the curtain in Washington, D.C. that you have to consider. The impact to me is unclear for two reasons. Number one, the pressure from the Congress, who has received the briefings about this intelligence. How will they go public and use their bully pulpit to attack him? The second piece that nobody's talking about, we have an incoming CIA director nominee who is going to be under tremendous pressure from the CIA workforce. I spent 25 years there, Michael. I can tell you what they're going to say. One, is the new incoming CIA director named by Mr. Trump going to answer to the president and speak as the president wants him to speak, or is he going to represent the facts as the CIA knows them? Mr. Pompeo, coming into office, that is the nominee to be CIA director, is going to have a limelight on him, and I'm suspecting he doesn't know what his answer is.
It was an unprecedented cyber attack ordered by senior Russian leadership on the U.S. election. Hacking the emails of Democratic officials, then released to the public virtually daily by WikiLeaks. Now President Obama is ordering the intelligence community to conduct a full review of Putin's meddling and all cyber attacks connected to U.S. elections going back to 2008.
This is a major priority for the President of the United States. He directed his intelligence community and national security officials to take this on. He expects that report to be issued to him before he leaves office.
The question is, how will his successor react?
Wouldn't it be nice if we actually did get along with Russia?
Trump repeatedly praised Russia during his campaign and denied that the Kremlin interfered in the election despite the public assessment of the U.S. intelligence community.
I mean, it could be Russia, but it could also be China. It could also be lots of other people. It also could be somebody sitting on their bed that weighs 400 pounds, okay?
And he's continued to express doubts even now that he has access to top U.S. intelligence as the president-elect, telling Time magazine this week, "I don't believe they interfered." That became a laughing point, not a talking point, a laughing point. Anytime I do something, they say, "Oh, Russia interfered."
We had a meeting.
Trump's skepticism of the intelligence community comes despite his own limited appetite for intelligence briefings. So far, Trump has only had 4 presidential daily briefings, on average 1 per week. But CNN has learned he has requested a more focused briefing on the threat from North Korea. Former CIA Director Leon Panetta telling CBS News that is not nearly often enough.
If you're President of the United States, you better be in touch on a daily basis with your intelligence briefers so that you have an understanding as to what's happening in the world, what are the crises you have to pay attention to, and what steps do you have to take in order to deal with those crises.
The next President of the United States.
One source for such crucial guidance will be his national security advisor, retired General Michael Flynn. But Democratic and Republican critics are questioning Flynn's judgment, based in part on his affinity for fake news and conspiracy theories.
I've had people in the media, mainstream media, that said, "Oh, that's all a conspiracy, it's a lie."
In an August radio interview with Breitbart News, Flynn claimed that Arabic signs were present along the U.S. border with Mexico to guide potential terrorists into the U.S.
I have personally seen the photos of the signage. They're like waypoints along that path as you come in, signs that say, in Arabic, this way, move to this point. I mean, it's unbelievable.
A CNN K-File review of available information, however, could not corroborate Flynn's claim. Flynn, the Trump campaign, and the Border Patrol all declined to comment.
Regardless of whether the RNC was hacked, and that would be a big and new development, I think we know to a certainty, given Podesta and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that the DNC was hacked. Why aren't we as Americans upset about the fact that a foreign hostile actor, apparently, put its thumb on the scale in our election? And why doesn't Donald Trump want to get to the bottom of that as he takes office? That's the issue.
Well, first of all, there's a couple things. One is I am outraged. I don't think any foreign entity, any individual, any entity.
Well, why don't you say that? And why didn't Trump say that in the statement
Michael,
last night? That's what I haven't heard.
Stop and let me. Okay, I just said it. Let me actually take yes for an answer. I said it. Okay? I don't think, Donald Trump doesn't think, no one thinks that a foreign entity should be interfering with the U.S. elections. Bottom line, full stop, I said it. Now let's get to the next thing. What proof does anyone have that they affected the outcome? Because I've heard zero. Okay? So show me what facts have actually shown that anything undermined that election. Donald Trump won with 306 electoral votes, 2,300 counties. 62 million Americans voted for him. So what proof do you have, or does anyone have, that any of this affected the outcome of this election?
I'm just an American who's trying to discern all that I'm reporting on
then
and
answer
reading.
the question, Michael.
Yes.
You're asking me, show me give me one fact that an outcome was changed.
Ask Debbie Wasserman. I can't say that it impacted the ultimate outcome, but that it took place. Go ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz. To be continued.
Hey, if you like this video, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. It really helps get the message out there, and it really motivates me to make more videos. Thanks a lot.